The American Conference of Cantors presents the Vatikim Video Project. This year's project is first being viewed on June 29, 2010 for the ACC GTM Convention being held in Memphis, Tennessee. Our first interview is with Cantor's Sheldon Chandler, being interviewed by Cantor Don Rosenzweig.
Sheldon Chandler, Sheldon Chandler. How long have you been in the Cantorate?
About 55 years. I graduated JTS in 1958. And my first pulpit was to go to a Reform congregation in Nyack, New York. Al Sturmer was there. And Al Sturmer and I have been friends ever since we began school. He went to JTS at first too. He and Tan Swartz and Dick Button and I were classmates. And they moved to HUC to find what they wanted there, and I couldn't go with them. There was a reason why I couldn't go. I stayed at JTS. Well, it was because I was there on scholarship, and it wouldn't have been a good idea to ask to leave. And
how would you describe what your cantorial style was like in those early days?
I learned to be a reader, and I didn't choose any particular style. As long as it was written on the page and we could work on it, I would try to do East European recitative, East European coloratura, contemporary services that were written for Reform services beginning in the 60s and the 70s. Yiddish song. I have a connection with Yiddish, which I'd love to tell you about as we go on. Whatever came up, I took it as a and I took voice lessons, and I went back to school so that anything that I had to learn, I would take to my teachers and learn and do it. That was it.
So what did you like to sing most?
I liked to sing with the choir. When I was in school, I thought, I'm never going to have a choir. Why are they teaching me this repertoire? And once I was able to have a choir, to rehearse them, to sing with them, I loved them. They were good singers, and I just loved the sound of the cantor being supported by a choir. And I just enjoyed choral singing, with me, of course, as the cantorial soloist.
Looking back, what was your favorite responsibility as a cantor?
My favorite responsibility? Oh, well, the thing that involved me more than anything else was being principal of the religious school. I learned how to work with teachers, how to train them, how to choose materials, how to listen to them. I learned from them how to be principal of the religious school. It took me 5 years, and I must tell you this story, a short story about that. At the end of 5 years, 4 years actually, end of the year, the president of the congregation came to me and said, Sheldon, I want to talk to you about next year. Yes? He said, I think you're going to have to choose between being principal of the school and being the cantor. We're having a problem. I said, what is the problem? He said, well, we have parents calling us and telling us that you are infringing on their freedom here at the congregation with their relationship to the congregation, especially through their children at the religious school. And they don't like it when you call them and ask them, where are the children? They're not at services on Saturday morning. Or, where are the children? Why didn't they come on Sunday morning to religious school? There was something wonderful going on. Did they forget? And they felt they have a right to go away on vacation and take the children skiing or take the children on a vacation. And they don't have to explain to you where they were. So, and they said to me that they're not coming to religious services if you're going to be on the pulpit, because they're mad at you. And they can't come to services if they're mad at you as the cantor. So you make the choice. Either you're going to be the cantor or you're going to be the principal. Well, that was easy. I said, fine, I'll be the cantor. It wasn't so easy because my salary was very small. I will say that all the years I was the cantor, I could qualify as a full-time cantor with the lowest salary in the United States. Absolutely.
So has your musical style evolved over the years, do you think?
Now that I've been singing a long time, I know that I am a good musician, a very good singer. I can study a text, and I can sing from any era, any style. Because I'm older now, my voice cannot handle lengthy coloratura, but I still have my range. I learned how to sing bel canto. I know what the passaggio is, and I study every morning when I can, a half an hour to warm up my voice, and I continue to pull out my library to sing from classical works or folk works or pop works or liturgical works. I'm a singer. I learned through being a cantor how to sing, and I can sing anything that my congregation might need.
Our next interview is with Cantor Hans Cohn, interviewed by Cantor K. Greenwald.
Hans, why don't you let people know what you just told me?
Okay. Shalom everyone, I'm very happy to be here, although not in person. At the very beginning, I want to tell you that in about 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with throat cancer, and I had major surgery. I'm fine now, but I wound up with a speech impediment, so I hope you will be patient with me, and I hope you will understand me.
So how would you describe what your cantorial style was like in those days?
Well, at that time, the cantor, I think, sang maybe more cantorial music. There were fewer congregational melodies, there were responses, and then there was a lot of responsive reading. But at the service, there were always solo pieces, a whole Vishamru, a whole Hashivenu, and a psalm. So the congregation, by and large, sang the Shema, Mihamoha, may the words. In fact, we used to joke in the shul, may the birds, because there wasn't too much for the congregation to sing. And little by little, this developed, where today there are fewer congregational, cantorial traditional melodies and more congregational tunes. In fact, now my congregation, after 35 years, they sing the whole service.
Right. So how did your musical style evolve in each of your pulpits over the years?
Over the years, well, at Hebrew Union College, our main source was Cantor. So I still find to this day the nusach of Cantor, the recitatives, they were all marvelous. I did have a background in opera and Schubert lieder, so I love to sing songs and lieder. Lazar Weiner gave me a wonderful background of Yiddish, although in Shanghai I learned Yiddish along other languages. I speak 6 languages, but I always loved to sing in Yiddish, and it was Lazar Weiner who really opened my eyes. So between Yiddish and Cantor, and from Berlin, I remember Lewandowski, that was the main music. So all of this together developed my own style.
Looking back over the years, I'm sure you've seen a lot of change in the American cantorate. Can you speak about these changes and what has been the most beneficial for the cantorate in general or the ACC?
Well, of course, you know that Hebrew College was the first seminary to admit women. I believe it was a welcome change. First of all, there was a shortage of handswork, and the older ones are getting up in years. Look at me, I'm 84. I must say, half of my friends, half of the students at my time are not with us anymore. In fact, now, the old-timers in our area is David Unterman and Marty Feldman. At that time, there was Joe Portnoy, there was Epstein, Cohn. All these men are not with us anymore, so they are memories. So they have been replaced, ably replaced by women. In fact, I think there was a welcome change, and it took an adjustment. Some people in the congregations preferred men, but over the years, women have made a tremendous contribution, and I welcomed it because, in fact, it has given, I think, the synagogue a shot in the arm. So I'm happy, and today Kay is here. I must say, it's been a wonderful improvement all along, and I think the future is secured by having joined rather women and men cantors. We have done programs together. In fact, one of the nicest programs when Rose Barrett came to San Francisco, we did a program together. It was one of my highlights. Rose is still at Emmanuel, has become, I think, a model for the Cantor, and so have you, Kay.
Thank you.
Our third interview is with Cantor Lawrence Avery, being interviewed by Cantor Haley Kobylinski.
Well, I've been davening for the public since my bar mitzvah, so that's a long time ago, and I think I was bar mitzvah in 1944 or something like that. I'm an old guy.
And when were you invested?
Well, what happened was that I was in the Navy when I was a late teenager, and I was in the Navy almost 2 years, and during that time I began to sing services also. So when I got home after being discharged, my father said, "Now you will study. Now you must study." And so I did study with one of those teachers who taught people how to become a cantor.
So how would you describe what your cantorial style was like in those days?
Well, my ideal was the guy who taught at HUC. That was Moshe Ganchoff. And Cantor, any number of important people. In those days, all the Kochavim were there at HUC. And my wife said, that's with whom you want to study. And that's the guy you want to sing like him. And so that's why, and I joined his class. I took classes with him. And then once when he got sick, he said, or somebody said, can you sub for Cantor Ganchoff? And so before I graduated from HUC, because I did register as a regular student, I was teaching that course, the course that he taught, and he had been ill, and so he wasn't teaching for a year or two. So there I was, teaching at HUC.
So looking back, what was your favorite responsibility as a cantor?
Teaching. Somewhere along the line, I had the idea that I knew that I had to teach bar or bat mitzvah. But I then realized, after I had been here about maybe half a dozen years or something like that, that I should really teach music too. And that the earlier I started those children on real or on lovely Jewish music,
Hebrew songs, Israeli songs, even some Yiddish things, that the earlier I worked with them, the sooner I got to know them. And the more familiar I would be with them when it came to the bar or the bat mitzvah.
Looking back over these years, I'm sure you've seen a lot of change in the American cantorate.
Okay.
Can you speak about those changes and what you think has been the most beneficial for the cantorate in general?
I don't think that those changes have been good. I'm greatly against translating into English. I'm greatly against the style of Jewish music becoming very much like like American folk songs. The way it's presented, the instruments with which it is performed. And so I'm not in that camp that says, that's a great piece because the congregation sings it with you. They can sing Tzur Yisrael with me, or they can sing Mi Chamocha with me, and certainly could or should sing Ve'ahavta, but they've got to be traditional Jewish melodies. I'm really against that which sounds like American folk songs. And that's the stuff that bothers me very much. I tried once in a while, and I know some cantors who have injected those things in their services, and I think that they're useless. I think they're going to come and go. This may be the time for it, but it never was my style. It never was anything that I approved of. It never was anything I really loved.
What advice would you give a newly invested cantor?
I would say, go to a school, but do more than what the school asks you to do. Make sure that you have studied Kachka, that you've studied Israel Alter, two of the major teachers, and maybe some other major teacher whose name you don't even know. I mean, if I told you that Shimon Raisin or somebody whose name was da-dam, and if you could find his music and see what was taught, or how one trained a cantor 60 or 70 years ago. But you know, there are so many things to learn and so many wonderful aspects of real beautiful music in our lives. So if people remember that that was my commitment, or that's what I loved, or that's what I tried to do, then, you know, then I think I made a mark.
Our fourth and last interview is with Cantor Israel Goldstein, being interviewed